Hello, I'm Jennifer, and I decided to work on password management for my project. The goal of this project is to provide a dependable and user-friendly software program that assists users in securely storing and managing their various account credentials, such as usernames and passwords, in a centralized area. The password manager provides an easy answer to the ever-increasing issue of remembering and managing multiple login credentials for many websites and applications. In today's digital world, preserving the security and confidentiality of personal data is critical. Password reuse and poor password habits are major cybersecurity threats that can result in unwanted access and data breaches. This initiative addresses these issues by offering a safe platform for storing sensitive information, hence lowering the chance of data compromise. First, we have the requirements. Functional requirements define how the system must work, and non-functional requirements detail how it should perform. Without functional requirements, the system will not work. Without at least some non-functional requirements being met to a certain level, users will become frustrated. Some functional requirements include that users must be able to create an account with a unique username and strong master password. The system must implement secure authentication mechanisms such as multi-factor authentication to verify user identity, and some non-functional requirements include all user data, including login credentials and personal information, must be stored and transmitted securely to protect user privacy. The password manager should be highly responsive and efficient to ensure a seamless user experience. Next is the object model. An object model is a good way to describe the system because it shows the structure of the system and the relationships between different parts of the system. It can be helpful in understanding how the data in the system is organized and how different parts of the system access and use the data. It is a visual representation of a system's objects, actions, and associated attributes. So here we have the user with its following attributes, and branching off of that is the account and credential also having their own attributes as well. Next, we have our use case sequence diagrams. The first one is user login. The user launches the password manager application. The application prompts the user to enter their password and master password. The user provides the required credentials and password manager. System validates the user's credentials. If the credentials are valid, the user is granted access to the password manager dashboard, and if the credentials are invalid, an error message is displayed and the user is prompted to retry. The second one is adding account credentials. The user navigates to the Add Account section in the Password Manager dashboard. The application prompts the user to enter the website username and password for the new account. The user provides the required details. The Password Manager system encrypts the account credential and stores them securely. Lastly, the application confirms successful account addition and updates the account list. Next, we have the misuse case diagrams. The first one being unauthorized access. The attacker attempts to brute force the user's master password. The password manager system detects multiple failed login attempts and triggers a temporary lockout for the user's account. The system sends an alert to the user about the lockout and advises them to reset their master password. Next is password exposure. The attacker gains unauthorized access to the password manager database. The system detects unauthorized access and activates intrusion detection mechanisms, and the system alerts the security team and initiates an incident response process to mitigate the breach. Next is my threat model. I decided to go with the STRIDE method. User login includes spoofing, identity tampering, and information disclosure because an attacker could attempt to impersonate a legitimate user by stealing their credentials, and they could intercept and modify the login data. And if the login process is not properly secured, they could gain access to sensitive information. Next is validate credentials, which include tampering and repudiation because an attacker might try to manipulate the data during the validation process modifying the response to gain unauthorized access, and without proper logging and auditing mechanisms, they could deny authentication successfully. Next is select action, which includes elevation of privilege because an attacker might try to exploit vulnerabilities in the system. The store account details include tampering and information disclosure because an attacker can modify the stored account details, leading to unauthorized changes or data corruption. And if the storage mechanism is compromised, they could gain access to the stored account details. Lastly is retrieving account details, which include information disclosure and elevation of privilege because if access controls are insufficient, an attacker might be able to retrieve account details of others, violating data confidentiality, and they might exploit vulnerabilities to access account details without proper authorization. Next is the threat mitigation. A robust threat mitigation plan helps establish procedures to avoid threats, minimize threats, or reduce the impact of the threats on organizations. It guides organizations on how they can bear and control threats. This helps the business in achieving its objectives. Some points that were included in the threat mitigation plan were secure authentication, secure data storage, input validation, secure session management, error handling and reporting, regular security testing, and code review. Next is our testing plan. The test plan is a roadmap for testing work that needs to be completed during the project lifecycle to ensure a successful implementation. As well, a well-developed test plan gets the company to think about the requirements to prepare for what is needed from a resource perspective and to list the risks involved. Some points made in this plan were unit testing, regression testing, stubs and mock design, misuse case testing, test automation, and performance testing. Lastly, the main reason penetration tests are crucial to an organization's security is that they help personnel learn how to handle any type of break-in from a malicious entity. Penetration tests also serve as a way to examine whether an organization's security policies are genuinely effective. And some points we made in this were scope definition, test environment setup, vulnerability scanning, manual testing, report generation, and remediation recommendations. This is the end. Thank you for listening.